up, guys? I'm Sadia.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Ian.
I'm Peter, and this is
Spaces. Hey guys, welcome to Spaces. Anyways, before we actually start, we're going to give a shout out to our brethren church. Is that how you say it?
Our brethren church.
Our brethren church, or
I think it's
sister
sister church.
I think it's mother. They're like a
You know what?
church.
We're all from different places. But we definitely want to give a big shout out to our family over there at Younger Generation Church. Personally, they hold a special place in my heart because I still do lead worship there as well as UG, and they hold a special place in all of our hearts.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to say thank you to y'all. Besides, I personally owe so much growing up. I learned what worship was and what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus at Younger Generation Church. So for me, it means so much.
I'm super thankful because YG and UG both were sent a lot of urban missionaries when we started planting Canyon Creek Project. And right now, thank you for the dedication and the mentorship you do for leadership in our younger generation, because right now these two lead incredibly well.
I learned everything
So
there. So, so thank you guys.
Yeah. So, I'm very thankful, Alan Martin, for the chances, for the trust, the mentorship, good stuff. So we thank you so much, and we just want to say thank you.
If you don't know what Younger Generation is, check them out. Facebook, Instagram, they're there. Their streams are awesome. Check them out.
Super cool.
Yeah. And the same thing we want to say also for UG.
Yeah.
Check out UG and Instagram.
Underground is doing. Danny Cotto is doing such an amazing job with those kids, and
Especially if you're a teenager.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, if you're a teenager, that is the place.
So even if
to
you're not a
be.
teenager,
True, I still go.
If you're a young professional or college age, you need to check out Younger Generation. They're doing some amazing stuff there, and I mean it's great. It's great stuff. You need to check them out.
But in case you don't know what Younger Generation Church is, and you came to listen to Spaces, we're going to go ahead and start this episode. So today we're having a conversation about prayer. So I don't know about you, but there have been many voices who have said many different things about this topic of prayer growing up. Like, it's to the point that from personal experience of trying out different theories to like that's how baffled I am sometimes with this topic of prayer. Is like, what is it about, and
If you're doing it right or like the
Are you-
wrong way to do
exactly.
it. So many people do different things.
Yeah.
They just want to
Yes.
feed into your
and then
life
different
of how to do it.
different religions talk about prayer.
Mhm.
So then it's like, what's like the true prayer, and then like, what is it about? So Peter, to start our episode, I just want to ask you, what do you consider prayer to be? Just to give us like a starting out.
Well, let's
Sounds
start,
like you're gonna phone a friend.
Let's start. Let's start with 7 steps to effective prayer. No, that's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, there's.
Thank
I
God.
didn't know I was in a
Yeah.
book. This is a whole seminar.
So you're also. I want just to simplify prayer. The best definition for me, and for me to grasp what prayer was about, the best definition for me came from a writer, Ellen G. White, and she shares that prayer is talking to God like He was your friend.
Okay.
And it sounds very simple, the line, right? But if you start deconstructing that, how long does it take for you to make a friend? Like, you don't just jump into a place and you
Depends
make
on
a
who you
friend
are.
immediately. You can create acquaintances, somebody you get along with, but that deep level friendship where you can really trust your heart and trust your person, it takes a little bit of time, kind of deal thing. And so it's trust, it's relationship. It's the being comfortable to be in the presence of someone that you just want to enjoy.
Yeah, because I just want to take a quick step there, because I feel like within that, if we're jumping straight into friendship, we're making a lot of assumptions. Number one, in that statement, we're assuming that there is a deity that there is something something that is not human force that is actually personal, that if we somehow concentrate our thoughts on and talk to, that they can actually hear us and then can actually like communicate with us in some way. So can you tell me a little bit more about that, like especially just in case someone's like, okay, I like talking to a friend, is it like talking to Casper? Is it talking like, remember Foster's Home of Imaginary Friends?
I love that show.
I don't watch that too much, but I remember it. It's ingrained in my
Casper.
brain.
It's a great show. Shout out.
The Bible. One of the golden lines of the Bible that starts. The Bible is a book that has 66 books in it, and it's divided into Old Testament, New Testament. From Old Testament, the book of Genesis, which is the beginning of the Bible, all the way to the book of Revelation, which is the end of the Bible, right? There's a golden line. There's one of the golden lines of the Bible is it underscores the difference between a God who desires that that he wants to be personal with you.
Okay.
And so he shares his personal name.
Okay.
And his personal name is Yahweh, right? It's and Yahweh, just to simplify that, it's the God who gets messy with you, who enters into your arena to understand your heart, to depart from where you are to a place where you don't know. And so that's a powerful. So this God, he doesn't expect you to initiate contact. He initiates a contact. He initiates conversation. And so we see that a lot in the Bible, where he is initiating conversation. And so there's a contrast here, right? And the Bible, if you're a believer in the Bible says, hey, this God wants to be personal. And so that's why he's close. He's not distant. And then, in contrast, in the Asian Near East, this is the context in which the Bible is at. So
can I pause you there just to summarize?
Pause me.
Yeah, just to summarize. So you're saying that God, and if I'm thinking about this, just from like a if I haven't heard this before, like it's like, okay, so God is like one person, but he's like has these two names that he talks about, and he tells, hey, I'm God, and in one word, right, is you mentioned Elohim, right? So that's like God, like the creator God, made heaven and earth, transcendent, like deity. But then you're saying he also says, it's like, hey, I'm Peter, if we're gonna talk, but he's like, hey, I'm Yahweh, and you're saying that communicates that, like, I want to be close, I want to get to know you. So I'm yes, I am transcendent, but I'm also immanent. I'm also close. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that that's different than maybe what other religions consider what prayer is?
Well, in the context, other religions if you think other religions, don't just think right now.
Okay, so you're talking about like the past, ancient times.
Think about Asian Near East, where
the
cultural context in which the Bible is written, at least the Old Testament is written. Do
you know around what year, just to drop?
Oh wow,
it's not coming to my mind either. But it's around when the Old Testament was written. That's the point.
A long time ago.
Yeah, that's
It's not. I don't have it off the top, but I was just curious.
You're talking about probably 4,000 years before Christ. With that period of time, 4,000 kind of.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Sure.
But what comes to a good story that comes to mind is Jonah.
Okay.
Okay, Jonah. You probably know this story about this guy who got swallowed by a fish.
Okay.
Or a whale. Most people know it as a whale. But it's an actual big fish.
Isn't that a band?
It's great.
Jonah the whale.
It's a fish. Yeah, people think it's a whale. Yeah, kind of deal thing. And so there's this interaction. He's in this boat, and there's this big huge storm, and then there's all these people who do not believe. Remember, this is from the Bible perspective. So, from the Bible perspective, the God of creation and universe and everything is Elohim Yahweh, God, the Lord God, right? And so there's all these people in this boat that are considered pagans. Pagans are people who did not believe in the God of the Bible.
Okay.
Right? And so they believe in what they called pagan gods, right? And so these guys they're calling out on their God, they're asking their God to help them out, to get them out of trouble, this storm. And so Jonah's sleeping.
Okay.
Right? And so the captain goes down and says, hey, I need you to pray to your God to see if they can help us. Now notice, here the thing is that to see if they will help us. You see? Then suddenly, they become aware that Jonah knows his God
Yeah.
by his personal name. Because Jonah uses the word or the name Lord, which is Yahweh. They are using the name Elohim, which is a common name in the Asian Near East for gods.
Okay.
So they don't really know their gods. They're just reaching out to see if their gods can do something for them. But Jonah knows his God and tells the story of why. He's running away from God because God has asked him to do this task that he doesn't want to do.
Okay, so to kind of give it something that's coming to my mind is kind of the difference between like, if I think of being a little kid, like being lost, and it's like it's a difference between calling for help, like someone help me, or calling dad or mom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
a great example. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the context in which prayer is for you to call Yahweh, God,
On a
Daddy.
specific person.
Yeah. Hey, Dad, I need to talk to you.
Okay. So
Or, hey, friend, I want to talk to you.
Okay.
Kind of.
So you're saying that's kind of what Scripture teaches about what prayer is. So Lauren or Shadia, I did that in reverse.
By the way,
Yeah,
that's
wow.
a very simplistic form. I just want to make that clear.
Of course.
Yeah.
But as far as like a basic
Yeah.
overview of what,
Yeah.
especially if we're coming from that context of, again, it can be very confusing. So I appreciate that. But Lauren or Shadia, what either
He said.
is it Superman that can do that?
I don't know.
Superman
what
has
you're
laser
doing.
vision,
Has
right?
laser vision, yeah.
Okay, there we go. So I'm imagining that. Okay. Anyway, but going back to prayer, in your life or like your friends' lives, things like that, what have you heard that prayer is, or what does it seem that prayer means to people? So he's talking about a very specific like view of prayer, which is like looking at it like the closest of a good parent. Not everyone has had good parents, but of a good parent, and of someone who's close and near and in a safe space. What have maybe like either you guys experienced in your life or experienced in other people's lives?
Well, in my personal experience, and like I've seen through my other friends' experiences, they see prayer as more of like a simple transaction.
What do you mean?
A simple transaction is if God is some form of vending machine. You give something or you ask for something and He gives it right to you, and that's just not the way that prayer works. And I believe that prayer, like you said, Peter, is more a close relationship with a person, in this case God, that you ask for help, like you can lean upon, and you can have a conversation with them as a friend,
I want to ask you. I don't want to let that vending machine thing go though, because I'm
Great metaphor. It's a great metaphor. I think it's a great metaphor. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we got the vending machine, right? So we got a vending machine.
Picture a vending machine.
There it is. So picture a vending machine.
All the goodies.
What do you have to put in, or like what have you heard, or what have you seen people be like? If I put this in to God, I will get this.
Yeah, people believe that they have to do a certain thing in order to reach God, kind of in the way of works.
What do you think people are?
People are like, Lord, if I stop smoking, will you then listen to me? If I stop smoking and I come to you, will I get this thing that I want? It's more of like a bargaining conversation, transactional bargaining, and that's just not the way that God intended prayer to be. It's a way to speak to Him in of a close best friend kind of fatherly way.
Have any of us? I'm just curious, just to kind of hone that in.
I've done that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask like.
I've done
I
that.
feel like it's a normal
Have we been
thing
there?
it's a normal thing for most people to do, if in general, because we're like, even as friends, we're just like, oh, if I give you like, I don't know, if I let you borrow something, then
You and
I
me
get
are
to
like
borrow
that.
something. But it's not even like that, because me and Lauren are like, we live in the same house, and we're like very close. So you just like come into my room and take whatever, but you have the like respect towards me to ask, But as Christians, going back to what we were talking about, as Christians, it's a very, very common, like, I guess, misconception of, oh, if you're in a bad situation, or like, let's say your like a family member's dying or a friend's dying or something, people have this misconception of like, oh Lord, if you make this person better, I will follow you. Like, it's like, oh, you have to do something for me to prove to me that you're worth following.
That's in a lot of movies too, and that's why people get confused.
What is that face?
I know, it's because I'm imagining, like, I've heard stories of people like, if it's such a bad career move, and that's why I'm laughing. It's like, if you do this for me, I will become a pastor. You know, like, and it's like, wait, that's like not the best career move. If you're like, don't even know God that much, be like, I'm gonna be a pastor. In other words, I'm gonna be like full-time reading scripture, learning Hebrew and stuff. That, like,
Is that what you did? Just
Yikes! throw him under the bus.
I felt
Help him
guilty.
with the
I was
stick.
in a bad situation, and then
I will become a pastor.
oh my gosh,
His was a long journey.
it's true. But I will say,
you should tell us one day. Tell them one day that
Yes,
story,
I will
because
tell them the
It's
story.
a whole
so long.
podcast in itself.
But on the journey, though, I will say that I resonate with what you're saying, which is that I have so been there. I feel like for many years, especially after I first became a Christian, after I first gave my life to Jesus, a follower of Jesus, it was like, it seemed like things just started going really well for my life. I would pray and things would happen, and it was great. And I thought that's what, if I have faith, then God's going to give me stuff. And good stuff, right? All good things. But
You're a spoiled child.
right? And there came a point, though, in my college life where I prayed for something so hard. And I did the whole thing, like, oh my gosh. Things can get weird. I'm not going to go super into it, but I went, as far into it as I could, as what I knew to do with, like, fasting and with, like, different stuff. Why? Because I was like, if I do this, I know God is going to answer my prayer. But then he didn't. And I was like, what happened here?
You learned no is an answer too. That's what you learned. That's a lot of people think or don't realize, is that no is an answer too. Sometimes the best thing to do is to say no. For a child especially. Their mom, like, and I didn't grow up with parents really, so I guess I don't know as much because everything was no for me. But I feel like in most like parentship, I don't think that's a word, but from parents to children don't understand that they
Parenthood?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Parentship. We'll say that for now.
Okay.
They don't.
Maybe we'll name an episode that.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Anyways, religionism.
Shout out.
But anyways, but like kids will go and be like, "Oh, hey, can I go to the park? Oh, is your room clean? No, you're okay. Why would you go to the park?" Or they'll ask for something like, "Oh, can we go to?" Everybody will be like, every like normal child will be like, "Hey, can we go to McDonald's?" Or like whatever fast food or whatever, anything. Like you're going through the drive-thru, or like my uncle. This is oh my gosh! But
What?
and my brother, my uncle was like, he would prank us all the time, and so we were driving close to Walmart, or not Walmart, sorry, McDonald's. Home Depot was right next to it, right? And Home Depot is a place where children die. It's
You're
where
not
children
kidding.
die.
You're not kidding.
Their hopes and dreams die. Once you go into Home Depot and you're like,
It's
dang,
over.
these light switches or this lamp would look really good in my room. That's when you know your childhood is dead. You're dead. As a child, you're no longer a child. But we were going like past McDonald's, and then my uncle went into the McDonald's parking lot, and we're like, oh my god, we were so excited. We're like, yeah, McDonald's. And then he parked, he reversed and went to Home Depot.
Oh, that is
we were like
cruel.
crying. We were crying.
uncle
We
did that
went
to me too,
afterwards, but it was
What's with
cool.
y'all's uncles?
I don't know. Is that
My
a thing?
gosh.
Is that a thing? That my uncle did the exact same
uncles.
thing to
If
me.
they don't pick on you, then they're not your uncle. You don't have uncles if they didn't pick on you.
They're pretty nice to me.
You're
I
too
like-
sensitive. That's why.
I like the I want to stick with that metaphor of the vending machine.
Okay, we're going back there.
Oh, we're going back. Rewind.
Because the vending machine, if you haven't experienced a vending machine, you do a transaction, right? You put in money, and you want to get what you want.
Yeah.
Right? You're aiming for what you want. You don't want to get something different. So something different falls on. You might welcome it, you might not, but you're not going to welcome it with all the joy. You wanted what you wanted. And that's what you wanted. And if nothing comes out, you start banging. You start hitting that vending machine. You start arguing against it and hitting it because you want something.
Personal experience.
And so, there's two things to observe there. Number one, God in His grace and in His love for you, sometimes He meets you right there, and He answers your prayer.
So you're saying that even when you treat him like a vending machine, he'll still
because you don't know better. So he'll be so. A lot of people. There was this one guy came up to me and says, Peter, every time I see somebody who's given their life for Christ for the first time, I ask them to pray for me because I know God answers their prayer. The reason why I was saying that is because what he's trying to say is that they haven't entered into a mature walk with God. When God says no, or he doesn't answer, or he says, I've equipped you, make a decision.
Wow.
Kind of deal thing.
Wow.
And so that's a different kind
that's hitting me.
You see, that's a different kind of deal, right? So God always meets us where we are. That's part of His grace. So it might be that you're in the vending machine, you see God as a vending machine, and you're hitting on that. And maybe God will answer you, But don't think that's the way He operates. He's just contextualizing with you so we can have a starting point. Let's start this relationship, let's start understanding each other, let's start growing. Know me, let me know you kind of deal thing, right? But the second thing is sometimes we don't want to grow. And we get mad at God, and we really act with God like He's a vending machine, and we want this transactional thing. Lord, I'm not supposed to be sick because I ate this way, or I did these certain things, and so I'm supposed to be okay. You promised, you said, kind of deal thing. And what we don't understand is that when God invites us to prayer is not seeing God as a super center Walmart with a bunch of stuff in it that we can grab of.
Yeah.
Prayer is, let's get messy and let's get to know each other. Because what God is trying to tell you through prayer is, I don't want to manipulate you. And I always say that word wrong.
Manipulate.
By the way. Thank you. And they always laugh at me.
It's every time.
It's every time. So I don't want to do that to you so you can love me or have a relationship with me or come to heaven because of that. I want to have a genuine relationship with you. And how do genuine relationships look like? They're fun at the beginning until we start getting to know each other, and all of a sudden the stuff starts coming up, and we get mad, we start yelling at each other, or we have moments, et cetera, et cetera. But like, I have a friend, his name is George. I love George with all my heart. I call him Figs.
Jorge.
Figs and I, when we were studying ministry, we used to do evangelism together. That's a big word. We'll talk about that one day. But basically, that's sharing Jesus with other people.
Yeah.
And so when I knew when Figs was hungry, because when he was hungry, he would get mad at me constantly and start yelling and stuff like that.
Hangry.
But because I had a relationship with me, I knew it was not something personal. He just needed a Mickey D's. Yeah. He called it Mickey D's. It was a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is not the best food on the earth. By the way, don't go to Mickey D's.
Yeah, don't.
So,
eat chocolate covered almonds.
We went to Mickey D's before. That's why me and Lauren.
There's better food out
you know
there.
what? But
go
it's
to Chipotle.
But
Chipotle
it's
did
cheap.
not exist at that point.
There we go.
But he would get angry, and so I knew he needed Mickey D's. So we go to the Mickey D's and we ate, and then our relationship was peaceful. So, but we had that type of relationship. We had that type of understanding, and we love each other, kind of deal. But that comes as a result of having a continuous journey with God and having the conversation over and over again, to the point where you have that trusting relationship where I can say, where I can sometimes disagree with God, even though He probably has the better option for me, but I disagree with Him. I'm mad at Him, and I yell and shout, and God, He doesn't take it personal. He knows that you're getting to know him. There's a wrestling going on. There's this relationship forming, and it's awesome. That's prayer.
But you know what I think gets in the way of that? I think what gets in the way of that is what we win is really going back to the very beginning, which is that doesn't make any sense unless we see God as a person with feelings.
Exactly.
And a person that is and to be real, and this is hard for me to understand sometimes, because if I'm gonna be honest, we had this talk with Pastor Mike, about relationships and our relationship with ourselves. One thing that is a journey for me is learning to love myself, and learning to not just see the wrong things, but take ownership of who I am. And so there's a sense of there's a God who's a person that actually not only loves me but likes me. And he likes me so much and loves me so much that he's willing to do anything to have a relationship with me. And it starts, in those small ways, like, and he like we were talking about, where it's like that beginning of the relationship. I love that. I think it makes me think of a guy, a guy pursuing a girl type of deal. Like, it's like, hey, it starts with that. But it's like you're saying that he doesn't want it to stay there. He doesn't want it to stay at the
honeymoon phase.
Honeymoon phase.
Because it's superficial.
Yes.
It will stay.
And then you love him for his stuff.
It's not that it's superficial, that it doesn't mean nothing. It's just the beginning point.
Yeah.
And there's so much more.
I think there was a study somewhere. I think that I read at one point in my life, but because when I went through high school or whatever, I wanted to do a lot of like psychology things or whatever. So we researched certain studies, and one study is that somebody can only act a certain way for a certain amount of time, and so the real you comes out after getting to know, like after 3 to 5 months. I think is the like time limit, and everybody's different.
Journey.
And it comes out every once in a while, but like after that, you can no longer act fake, because they realize that you have faults too. You're a human as well. And so that's when you start to realize who the other person is.
And there's something very important that you said. And the reason why there's a lot of people who don't come to God or don't want to talk to God or not interested in even knowing about him is because the God that they have been presented
is not God.
Yeah, is one who's looking for your sins, one who's looking to accuse you, to look for, it's kind of like the cartoon. I'm gonna
Zeus. It's Zeus.
Yes,
mythology.
It's kind of there, and who's to blame is we the church, we're to blame. We have to own that a lot of times we present a God who is punishing, judgmental. That's that for no reason asks you to do things for no reason. If you don't behave, you're not going to heaven, you're going to hell, and we just it's so dry, and it lacks so much context and so much meaning.
It's very two-dimensional.
Yeah, and
it's a medieval painting.
Yeah. With that, I feel like people don't even get the chance.
They don't even get the chance.
They don't get the chance to meet God.
So they become
that view.
If I'm going to go to hell, well, why bother? Let me just live as happy as I can. And whatever the case, but they don't get the chance to know that this God really is interested in your heart, is interested in journeying with you, whatever that journey looks like.
What's another obstacle, I think? I'm going to be really honest with you, is I think another obstacle is that, like in my life, this whole concept of journeying with another person and journeying with God, but let's just keep it on the relational level. So let's pretend like without God in the picture, even this concept of when we talk about journeying, we use that word a lot. I know I use that word a lot. And how I would define journey is mutual vulnerability for the purpose of other-centered love and growth. So it's mutually opening yourself to another person, and the other person open themselves up for you for the betterment of each other, and taking your eyes off of yourself and choosing to show up. It's choosing to show up with that person even when you don't feel pretty, even when you don't feel, and them responding in kind, and them showing up even when they know that they're not at their best. That's journey. But I don't know if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if our generation has even experienced that on the human level. So how am I supposed to, if I haven't experienced that on the human level, how am I supposed to experience that with God?
Well, that's a good question, and I would go in two directions.
Wow, Pastor Ian over here.
Yeah, I think the first thing is you, me, Sadia, Lauren, that we become, and you know, behind the scenes, Leo, that we
Shout out.
You know, if I have had the privilege to get to know this God, you know, how can I create a space for other folks to have that experience?
Spaces.
You know,
Boom, shut up.
how can I be intentional about creating those spaces where the genuine connection can happen, can have that possibility where the seed can really happen? You know, that's so important, you know, because it's true. What you're saying is so true. But so the solution, we cannot just give responsibility completely to God. We who are his children, we call ourselves the church, how do we create the spaces for those people to have the opportunity to create that genuine connection with God?
You're saying that almost as something that can almost be a precursor to prayer is you know, because we're talking about prayer as relationship, almost as a precursor to relationship with God is relationship with another human being.
Oh, absolutely. Here's the thing. If someone doesn't know about God,
Okay.
right, and they have a relationship with me,
Yes.
right, and they know I'm a believer in God,
Yes.
and I treat them wrong, or I'm nasty to them,
Oh,
or
never get a Christian
whatever
bumper sticker,
you know,
please.
whatever the case is, you know,
Gosh.
that's the interpretation that person is going to have of God. You see, what I demonstrate towards that person, that's the interpretation they're going to have of God. Now, if I am a person who sits down, has conversation with them, and so on, what's that guy, that Christian guy, what's his name?
Jesus.
No. There's this guy who has a YouTube channel, that Christian guy.
Oh, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting your name, but you're awesome. And he has developed.
Yeah.
He has,
Hey, you never
Hopefully
know.
one day.
he's developed these relationships with people who do not believe in God. You see, and they really enjoy their relationship with him. And what's happening is they're starting to see a God who enjoys them. They're starting to get a picture of God that he is showing to them. So we, the church, we need to be very intentional of how we create a space for people who are agnostics, who don't believe, or have had a bad experience, whatever the case is. How do we create a space where they can have a possibility of a genuine connection with God?
And also not feel judged at the same time.
Exactly. You know, and it's not that God, you know, this is the other thing. It's not that by creating this space we make God water him down.
No.
That's not the.
No.
You know, I think God needs to be. You know, we need to present him as the God of the Bible, point and blank. But the fact that they can have a relationship, that's pretty awesome.
There's a
Sorry about that. Sorry you had to see that.
Part 2 of our 2-part series on prayer will be out next week.